Dalam rangka peningkatan nilai tambah dan daya saing produk pertanian, maka pengelolaan yang baik merupakan kunci keberhasilannya. Beberapa produk pertanian segar mempunyai nilai jual yang lebih tinggi daripada produk olahannya. Namun, banyak produk pertanian justru mempunyai nilai yang lebih tinggi ketika dilakukan pengolahan, atau bisa juga kita kombinasikan antara produk segar dan olahan bagi produk yang kurang laku dijual segar karena oversupply atau penampilannya kurang menarik. Daya saing antara lain ditentukan oleh mutu dan harga produk itu sendiri. Untuk menghasilkan mutu produk yang baik, tentunya penerapan jaminan mutu harus dilakukan. Walaupun proses produksinya dilakukan oleh usaha kelompok di pedesaan. Untuk harga produk yang bersaing, maka pengelolaan atau pengolahan dengan konsep zero waste menggunakan teknologi yang tepat guna merupakan alternatif jitu yang harus dilakukan. Dengan mengolah semua komponen dari komoditi menjadi produk yang bernilai jual, tidak saja menghasilkan produk yang ramah lingkungan, tetapi juga bisa menekan biaya produksi sehingga harga produk bisa bersaing di pasar dengan tidak mengurangi keuntungan, bahkan bisa meningkatkan keuntungannya. Selanjutnya, tayangan berikut merupakan contoh pengolahan ubi kayu menuju zero waste dan diversifikasi olahan produk turunannya.
Ubi kayu, known as cassava or tapioca in English, is one of food carbohydrate source plants that grows fertile in all parts of Indonesia. Like in the terrain of Gunung Kidul, which is one of the biggest production centers in Indonesia. Cassava nowadays has developed not only as traditional food source, but is also processed into other derivative products. Because of its quality, these derivative products of cassava are highly competitive in the national food industry. A number of cassava derivatives that is popularly developed these days are Mocaf flour, bioethanol, and tapioca flour. Mocaf is a flour from cassava that has been modified through fermentation technique to produce a wider structure of flour, softer, and with no odor. To make good quality Mocaf flour, the best cassava, which is 8 to 9 months old, is used because it is during that period cassava has the best amylum and freshness level. The cassava must not have any mechanical, physical, biological, chemical, or physiological defects from microbiology contaminants or heavy metal. This is to ensure the Mocaf produced is optimum and free from hazardous contaminants. Mocaf industry is increasingly noticed in the national agro industry, in which good manufacturing practices are applied to achieve quality that fulfills the requirements. Each food production process, from storage, transportation, and delivery, must fulfill necessary requirements to ensure food safety and the safety for human. To comply with standards, the location is advised to be a dry area, far from heavy metal or mycotoxins contaminations, free from scrub and pool of water, and has adequate water supply and raw material input on site, as well as access for vehicle and good waste management system. The size of the building should well accommodate equipment and workers, and the mobility of raw material. The arrangement of production area should follow the flow of process to ensure work efficiency. The windows are advised to be minimum 1 meter from the ground. There should be a separate space to store wet material, dry material, and end product. In each of these facilities, the areas need to be easily cleansed, free from pests, and has good air circulation. Other supporting function of the workplace needs to be taken into account, such as sufficient lighting, facility for washing hands, first aid kit are of important facilities that may influence the quality of the work and the performance of the workers. Also, there should be adequate sanitation facilities in the location, which provide clean water and waste disposal facilities. Toilet must not be exposed to the production area. Various sanitation items such as bucket, tissue, and soap must always be available, along with sanitation signage on every side of the production area. Prior to production, regular machine checking is advised. This is to minimize unnecessary risk and to ensure that machine is in good condition for use. This is done by heating the machine for several minutes before processing takes place. Building and equipment facilities are well maintained. There is good waste management, documented maintenance, and each worker is required to wear mask, working suit, gloves, head cover, and boots. Production machines are placed according to the flow of process. The equipment must be durable, not easily peeled off, and hygiene should be maintained. Surface that comes into contact with the product must be clean and made of stainless steel. Hazardous equipment should be equipped with instructions. The production of Mocaf covers several steps, from peeling, washing, cutting, fermenting, pressing, drying, flouring, tempering, sifting, and to final packaging. The first thing to do is separating the cassava that are suitable to be processed into Mocaf flour. Mocaf is derived from sweet cassava and other types of cassava with HCN level that is less than 40 mg per kilogram. Cassava are harvested during its optimum age. Depending on the type of cassava, the average is from 8 to 10 months, because it is during this period where the flour level is at its highest. Processing must immediately start and should not wait for more than 24 hours after harvest to prevent discoloration of the cassava. The diameter of cassava should be around 7 to 10 cm. The skin of cassava is peeled off. Be cautious not to leave any skin behind, as it will affect the quality of the Mocaf flour. Peeling can be done manually using knife or mechanically using cutting machine. Make sure that the cutting machine is free from contamination such as corrosion, free from pollutant, and is not chipped. Cassava is then cut on both ends, more or less 3 cm on each end. After that, the peeled cassava is placed in a container filled with water to prevent oxidation, which causes the cassava to turn color into brown. When cut, the cassava is then washed with clean water. This is done to wash the remaining dirt from the peeling process and slime on the surface of the cassava, as well as to reduce the HCN level. After washing comes the cutting or shredding. This is to cut the ubi kayu into smaller size, 1 to 4 mm thickness, to ease the penetration of bacteria during fermentation and for faster drying, as well as to ease flowering process. Remember to prepare a container to collect the chips. Once all cassava are cut into chips, the fermentation process begins. This is to produce chips that are whiter, cleaner, and without odor. Fermentation is done by preparing enzyme from lactic acid bacteria, as well as to prepare water to use for washing cassava, and prepare a container for fermentation process. Place the chips in perforated bags or pour all chips into the fermentation container. Make sure that all bags are soaked with water and allow fermentation process to happen for 8 to 10 hours. Fermentation process is followed by pressing or draining process. This is to reduce the water level in the chips for fast drying and to reduce the HCN level. Pressing is done with a pressing machine. Once the machine is prepared, place the wet chips into the machine to press out the water. The pressing process is stopped when the water exerted from the process becomes clear. The amylum derived from the pressing is then settled, washed, and dried for further process, which is shredding. Prior to shredding, ensure that the container and environment are free from contaminants. Also, to ensure that the machine and other supporting equipment are clean and sterile. Shredding is a process to break down bulk of chips to ease drying process. This is done manually or using machine. The chips are parted until broken down. After that comes the drying process. This is to reduce the water contents to a safe level for storage and further processes. Drying can be done manually by placing the chips under the sun for more or less 10 to 16 hours. During the drying process, the chips are flipped every 2 hours. This is to ensure that the chips are dried evenly. Drying can also be done mechanically by using drying machine. Make sure that the machine is clean from contaminants and in fit condition. Prepare the dryer and other components such as the blower and driver of the machine. Turn on the blower for more or less 3 minutes to ensure that it is working. Set the twin timer position, both on timer and off timer, so that the machine is used efficiently. Set the thermostat to a safe position, which is 550 Celsius. The drying process will take about 7 to 8 hours until the water level reaches to 13%. Dry chips are placed in high-quality packaging bags and are stored in the storage area. Next comes the flooring process. This is done to reduce the size of the chips to the texture of flour. The flouring process is done once or twice, depending on the machine features, such as diameter, power, and mesh size. The output should meet the standard required, which is 100% for 80 mesh and 90% for 100 mesh. What follows after is the tempering process, which is a process to reduce the temperature to room temperature. This activity is needed to ease the sifting process. The electrostatic formed during the flooring will make it difficult to sift. The tempering process is done by leaving the flour in an open container in an area with room temperature. Next is the sifting process itself. This is done to produce a consistent size of grains. Grains of flour that do not go through a 100 mesh sifter is gathered for another sift. When the flouring process is done, leave the machine running empty for 5 minutes to clean the remaining flour. After that, turn off the machine and clean the sifter using brush to ensure no leftover. Packaging and storing comes next. These are done to ease storage, transportation, and distribution of flour. Packaging must be food grade that does not contaminate the product and protects the mocha from extreme condition and maintain its quality. For 1 kilogram size, plastic food grade nylon that is airtight and sealed is used. For 25 or 50 kilogram sizes, double primer sack layered with secondary sack is used. The sack is sealed by sewing. Mocaf in packages is then stored in a dry warehouse. The floor are covered so that sack do not come in contact with the floor directly. This is to ensure the quality of Mocaf. If the quality of Mocaf fulfills the SNI or the Indonesian national standard, Mocaf can be stored for a maximum period of 12 months. Mocha flour has developed